My name is Emily Carter, and this story happened during one of the hardest years of my life. I was 34, recently divorced, and trying to start fresh in a small town called Maple Ridge. It was one of those places where everyone knew everyone, where the local diner still had booths wrapped in red leather, and people smiled at you even if they didn't know your name. I moved there because the rent was cheaper, and I thought it would be a quiet place to rebuild my life. But quiet doesn't always mean easy. When I first found the small apartment on Cedar Avenue, it felt like a dream. It wasn't fancy, but it had a cozy kitchen with sunlight pouring through the window every morning, and an old oak tree outside that whispered when the wind blew. The landlord, Mr. Jensen, was a kind man in his late 40s. He had salt and pepper hair, wore glasses, and always smelled faintly of coffee and sawdust. He owned the building himself and lived on the first floor, while I rented a small place upstairs. For the first few months, things went smoothly. I worked part-time at a bakery downtown and tried to make ends meet. I spent my nights learning how to paint, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for. My divorce had left me emotionally drained and financially unstable. When my ex-husband left, I had to start from zero, new place, new job, new life. I told myself I'd manage, even if it meant eating cereal for dinner sometimes. But life doesn't always stick to your plans. One Monday morning, my manager called me into the bakery's back office. I thought it was just another shift change, but her face looked tense. "Emily, I'm so sorry," she said softly. "Business has been slow. We have to cut some hours." My heart sank. "How many hours?" I asked. "Half," she said. I tried to smile, pretending it wasn't a big deal. But inside, I felt the panic rising. Half the hours meant half the pay, and I was already barely covering rent. That night, I sat in my tiny kitchen staring at my checkbook. The numbers didn't lie. I was short by almost $200. I chewed my lip and whispered to myself, "What am I going to do?" For 2 weeks, I looked for extra work. I applied at the grocery store, the diner, even offered to walk dogs for my neighbors. But it wasn't enough. As the end of the month approached, the fear in my chest grew heavier. When Mr. Jensen knocked on my door to collect rent, I almost didn't answer. But he called my name gently, "Emily. You home?" So I opened it, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey there," he said with a kind smile. "Just doing my rounds." I took a deep breath. "Mr. Jensen, I need to be honest. I don't have the full rent this month. I'm short, but I'll pay as soon as I can." He looked at me, his eyes thoughtful behind those old glasses. "Times are hard, huh?" I nodded, feeling my cheeks burn. "Yes, I'm so sorry." He didn't scold me. He didn't frown or raise his voice. Instead, he said, "Tell you what, Emily. How about we work something out?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Well," he said, scratching his chin. "I've been needing help fixing up the building. Small stuff, painting, cleaning, replacing light bulbs, that sort of thing. If you can lend a hand for a few hours each week, we'll count it toward the rent." Relief flooded through me so fast my knees almost gave out. "Are you serious?" He smiled. "I don't make offers I don't mean. It's an honest trade." That night, I cried, not out of sadness, but gratitude. It felt like someone had finally thrown me a lifeline. The next morning, I put on old jeans and a sweatshirt and went downstairs. Mr. Jensen handed me a bucket of paint and some brushes. "Let's make this old place shine again," he said with a grin. The first few days were quiet. I painted stair rails, cleaned the front porch, and repaired an old flower box that had been falling apart. Mr. Jensen would check in now and then, offering me iced tea or homemade muffins from his sister's bakery. We talked about small things, the weather, the neighborhood, his late wife's love for gardening. There was a calmness about him that made me feel safe. One afternoon, it started to rain unexpectedly while I was sanding down the window frames. He rushed out with an umbrella, laughing as he called out, "Emily. You're going to get soaked." We both ran inside, dripping wet, laughing like two kids caught in a storm. That small moment broke something open inside me, a piece of joy I hadn't felt in a long time. Weeks turned into months. The building began to look beautiful again, freshly painted and blooming with flowers in the courtyard. Mr. Jensen said I had a magic touch, though all I did was put in heart and effort. I felt proud of what we were building together. Then one evening, as I was finishing painting the front door, he said quietly, "You've really made this place feel alive again." I smiled. "I guess fixing things gives me a sense of peace." He nodded. "Sometimes, fixing things around us helps fix things inside us too." Those words stuck with me. Because it was true. Every brush stroke, every repaired corner felt like I was rebuilding my own heart. Then came December, and with it, snow. The holidays were approaching, and I couldn't afford gifts or decorations. Still, I tried to make my apartment warm and cheerful with a few candles and hand-painted ornaments. One snowy evening, Mr. Jensen knocked on my door holding a small Christmas tree. "This one's for you," he said. "Consider it a thank you gift." I was speechless. "You didn't have to," he smiled. "I wanted to. You've done more for this building than you realize." We spent that night decorating the tree together. I played soft Christmas music on my phone, and we laughed about how crooked the star looked on top. When he left, I sat by the twinkling lights, feeling something I hadn't in a long time: peace. The months passed, and I eventually found a second job at a local art store. Slowly, I began paying full rent again. When I handed Mr. Jensen the envelope one morning, he just smiled and said, "You've come a long way, Emily. I'm proud of you." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how one man's kindness had changed everything. If he hadn't given me that chance, I might have lost my home, my hope, and maybe even my faith in people. A few years later, I moved to a bigger place, but I still visit Maple Ridge sometimes. The old building still stands tall, freshly painted, with flowers blooming just like the day I left. Mr. Jensen still manages it, though now he hires a few locals to help out. Every time I see him, he greets me with that same warm smile and says, "Still painting the world, Emily." And I always laugh and say, "Still trying." I never forgot the deal we made, not because of what it solved, but because of what it taught me. Kindness is never small. A simple act can restore someone's dignity, rebuild their strength, and remind them that life can be good again. And that's why I'll always remember that season, when I couldn't pay rent, but instead of losing everything, I gained something far more valuable: hope.